I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks.
What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Challenge 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Jim White is out today. He had a knee surgery on Monday, a knee replacement. So in the studio today, we got Brother Dave, Super Dave, and then a return guest, Joe Trussell from CDL 303. Welcome, man.
Welcome, Joe. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Yep. As always, we're going to kick off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get into the trucker prayer, we want to keep Jim White in mind. Sounds like he's recovering well. Andrew noticed his mom, Edith. She is in the hospital right now, so we want to keep her in our prayers. Let's keep the Trussell family in our prayers. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to go out and do some trucking today. We pray for the safety of our fleet, all of their families, and all the other families and individuals we come across on the road today. We pray for patience and in making a good, safe decisions. We pray to be accident-free and that we all make it back to the comforts of our homes this evening. We pray for healing and 100% recovery for all of our family members that are ill. No matter what, we trust you, God, and it's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
As a reminder, anything you hear on today's show is not the opinion of JFWs or CDL 303s. It's just the men in this room's expressed opinion.
Love it.
Yep. Episode 187 had 262 downloads. We are at 96.9 thousand total downloads, and we have 769 followers. Super Dave, do you know how the hamburger introduced his girlfriend?
I don't have a clue, Jim.
Meat Patty.
Meat Patty.
And the dad joke challenge is on.
Time for the dad joke challenge.
Oh, boy.
What do you got?
Well, I've got a couple of riddles here. See if you can guess them. What word contains 26 letters but only has 3 syllables?
Alphabet.
The alphabet. You are on it this morning. What is more useful when it is broken?
Oh. I don't know.
An egg.
Oh. Dang it.
And then what goes up but never comes down? I thought you guys might get this one, actually.
Inflation. Taxes.
Boy, inflation. That's a good answer. That was right. But your age.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Like
feeling
time never stops. Neither
feeling
does your
younger.
age.
Feeling younger today.
I got a helping hand out on these from Mikey, but in actuality, they came from his dad, Dick Peterson. So he sent a whole scoopful here. I'm just going to read off a couple of them. I didn't think orthopedic shoes would help, but I stand corrected. I love this one. This is a readout on a display going down the road, and it says, "Thief steals wheels of police car. Cops work tirelessly to nab suspect."
That's good.
And then this one I really like. One of my neighbors is a pilot for Delta, and then one of our other neighbors retired from Boeing, both the husband and wife. I don't think they would appreciate this joke, but what noise does a 747 make when it bounces? Boeing, Boeing.
Boy, Boeing has got a rough road going these days.
Yeah, the couple that live there in the neighborhood that we've had over several times, they their stock or their retirement is based on their stock with Boeing because they worked a lifetime at the company and retired from there.
Going down.
So yeah, they're traveling, but they're like, I don't know for how much longer. We hope they rebound.
Did you see Pan American has one plane back in service, and
No.
it's like the $60,000 flight. It goes to like all these like ritzy, like top tier
Really?
cities.
Yeah?
and- yeah, it's like $60,000 for a ticket.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Pan Am.
Ah.
Joe, do you have any jokes you want to tell? Or
Yeah, just on the fly. How many South Americans does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
A Brazilian.
oh man,
I love
that's
that.
great. On the fly.
Yeah.
I got one more. I was walking through a bad neighborhood the other day, and a guy assaulted me with milk. How dare he?
How dare you. Oh, boy.
All right, new employees. I met him last night. He came in to introduce himself, and he had some questions about time off. He told me how to pronounce his last name, but Bennett Milo?
Yeah, M-I-L-O-T. Yeah, Milo.
Yep. So Bennett, Robin Comel, Paul Derlin, and MB all joined the fleet this week.
Nice. Welcome aboard, everybody.
Welcome aboard. Celebrations. We got a really big celebration this week, and that's JFW's 90-year anniversary is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
90
pretty
years.
cool.
That is cool. Other JFW anniversaries. Jason Gamage hit 6 years yesterday. Carl Jadinger, it's 2 years this week. And Dwayne Sand has an anniversary this Saturday the 5th. I believe that's his 8th?
Something
Eighth
like
year?
that, yeah.
A commendable one, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Dwayne's back this week. You know, he was gone all last week. He was hospitalized, and he's back trucking. He's one tough son of a gun, I'm telling you
Right?
what.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean this in all the kindest ways. He's like John Wayne toilet paper. He don't take shit off nobody. And that's commendable. That's a compliment. I know
Yep.
it may not sound like it, but you're one tough son of a gun, Dwayne.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Birthdays, we got Pedro Magallanes and Luis Quintino had a birthday this past Sunday. David Chanley and Jose Acosta and Lexi Brown have birthdays today. Derek Jellum has a birthday tomorrow. And Fabio De Gaetano has a birthday on the 4th of July.
Wow. Happy birthday, everybody.
I got to back up for a second. This is Dwayne's 9th.
9th.
Wow.
Anniversary, yes.
Wow.
There you go.
Congratulations, Dwayne.
9 years. Good
Very
job,
cool.
Dwayne.
Yeah, very cool.
Thanks for looking that up. Mary Harper, a.k.a. Beans, had a birthday Sunday the 22nd. And Alan Carballo's daughter, Deliza, has a birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday, family. I do want to back up and throw in there for our 90th tomorrow, there's going to be ice cream trucks at both yards stationed there. So everybody stop by, get your free ice cream.
Yep.
Rumor is there's going to be some 90th anniversary apparel available. I don't know what that looks like yet. And I've heard there could be some cupcakes to go along with those ice cream bites. So anyway, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everyone and hope to see everybody at both yards.
I'm going to limit myself to one scoop of ice cream tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that M's ice cream is something else.
Oh man, you're
They
tough.
must
If you can limit yourself to one, Jam.
I got it.
I mean, he shows up with like 5 flavors out of his 100 available.
Joe, if you and Scott want to come by tomorrow.
Yeah, if you have a minute, stop by either yard. I don't know if you've been to our other yard, but yeah, either yard.
I
So.
know you guys like your donuts, so you have a sweet tooth. Come get some ice cream. All right.
Bring your trainees.
They'll be out working.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
No ice cream till you graduate.
That's great.
Yep.
Shout outs. This is from Dispatch. We finished the E470 jobs. Finally, the site coordinator wanted to let us know what a pleasure we are to work with. Our drivers do a good job, our communication is good, and they really appreciate it. And Faye is their coordinator, and she's also wonderful. So great
Isn't that
job,
great?
everybody.
You love getting
hearing
that feedback.
Yep. I want to give a shout out, and maybe I'll list them next week because there's a lot of names, and I was kind of under the gun yesterday. But I want to give a shout out to all the drivers that have completed every single knowledge challenge.
Every
single week since the first one, hasn't missed a beat.
That's awesome.
Yep.
You know, I missed mine last week, Jam. I missed 2 points. I got it wrong, which you'd think, how the heck could I get 2 questions wrong? And I did. And then I got interrupted, and I never went back, and then I noticed I missed it.
No shout out for you?
No shout out for moi.
Nope.
I had to take my test like 10 times, and I kept missing one. And I'm like, well, this is bullshit. I was there. I know all the answers. And I finally got it.
Was it on the High Road Holland, Dave?
No, I don't remember which one it was, but
should have came to me and asked for help.
I should have, Jam.
Yep. Yeah, if you
I'm that
guys
stubborn dude that doesn't want to ask for directions either.
if you guys listen to the podcast and you're struggling to take the test, some of these guys are dedicated. They'll go back and listen to the whole thing again. I'm not asking you to do that. There may be just one thing you need help with. This knowledge challenge, quiz, test, whatever you want to call it, is not meant to be a pain in your butt, and it shouldn't be stressful or aggravating or frustrating for you.
100%
agree.
Amen, Jam. Amen.
Yeah.
So come see me, come call me. Some guys will take the test on the road, not while they're driving, but hey, I've been having trouble. Can we go through it? It literally takes 2 minutes for us to go through it together.
Right.
I don't just give you the answers. I want to make sure you listen to it, but I could tell.
Yeah. Oh, it's obvious.
Yeah.
Right, Jam? Yeah. Obvious.
What's funny is when you go back and take it again, you think you know the one you missed, so you change your answer, and then you miss 2, and then you miss more. I got down to 70%, and I'm like, dang it.
I want to give a shout out to the safety team. I just love working with our team, with you guys and gal. I think we have a real solid team, and it's just fun. It's fun coming to see these faces. Definitely feel like family.
Awesome group, Jam.
I appreciate
I
all of you.
second that shout out.
Awesome. You have any other shout outs?
Jam, I just wasn't prepared this morning, so I'll have to say no.
Okay. Soup?
I'll think about it, but I'm sure I could think of several.
So no.
I should be better prepared too, Brother Dave.
There's no surprise they're coming.
Right.
Joe, you want to give anybody in this world a shout out?
Shout out to JFW for having me back. I
we'll
appreciate
take
it
that.
very
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Very much.
Win-win.
Cool deal. All right, let's get into the discussion, the meat and potatoes. Safety team coaches are rotating. So what that means is your team, the players and the members of your team stay the same, but your coach, your Samsara coach, is going to be different starting yesterday.
Okay, how can the guys find out who their safety coach is?
Well, ultimately,
Is it on Samsara?
well, yeah, they could. Well, maybe it might be that. I think our name is listed with the team. Ultimately, their safety team coach should reach out. So basically, I'll get with JR today. He'll tell me who my players are, and I'll put a connect team out. I start a group for my people, and I introduce myself, and yeah, that's
Nice.
what should be taking place,
Nice.
in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah, this way everyone knows, and you have a group chat going, and
I'm interested to see those numbers next week. Hopefully we'll have them for the podcast of how the teams finished out.
Yeah.
Do a little ranking
yes,
for the teams.
Yep.
See how they finished.
tell you what your prize was. Also on Samsara, JR was showing me this last night. Self-coaching has been released. So basically now, if you're getting alerts, we could click this box that says self-coach, and then you'll have to go into Samsara. You'll have to watch the assigned videos for your alert that you've been getting, and then it'll mark you coach. So
Wow,
that takes
Jim.
a little pressure off of the coaches because it's a job,
Right. Right.
So yeah, not everything will be self-coached, or if you are a habitual, offender of like following distance, you're following too close, we'll probably send you some self-coaching one, maybe twice, and then we have to have a sit down.
Yeah.
Because what I find is with some experience I've had is, okay, Brother Dave, you are, following too close, and I'll send you 3 videos and you watch them. Next week I send you 5 videos and you watch them, and we mark them coach. Like you see, do you know how to count? Yeah, I know how to count. Okay, tell me how you count. You tell me, but you're not getting better.
Right.
Now we have to have a meeting.
Right.
And that's going to include a sit down and multiple safety team leaders and Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty cool thing to me, because
like
you can
it.
self-control it yourself.
I like
You know,
it.
if you're engaged and aware of what you're doing and you want to be better. And, you know, I was thinking about it this morning about the whole Samsara program, and we've created this bar. We talk about it, but you come to work here and we're holding you accountable. We've set this bar, and you are better working here if you want to be. If you're not, that's just how you're living.
Will.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. We're going to ask more of you. And I related it. I don't even know why this popped in my head this morning. I kind of related it to, we're that difficult teacher that you hated in 10th grade. I'm just making it up. That you're like, I don't like this teacher. I'm going to get a crappy grade in this class. You know, and you wind up busting your ass and you pass the class, you know, whether it's even with a D or a C, you pass the class. But at the end of the year and through the rest of your life, you realize that teacher made you better.
Oh, yeah. When there's an incident that you've avoided because of what you've learned,
Yes.
you're like, that JFW wasn't too bad after all.
Right, Jam? And I guess I kind of put that analogy together, and I don't even know why. It was just rolling around in my head, and I'm just like, you know, because there's some people that come here and they struggle, right? And we've seen some amazing success stories, probably more than we have failures. But, you know, in talking to a couple members of the safety team yesterday and Monday, you know, pretty much we're going to help you and give you everything you can get to be better here. You know what I mean? If you come to work here and you have a following distance issue, we're going to help you. If you have a speeding issue, we're going to help you. If you have a running stop signs issue, we're going to help you. If you have phone use issue, we're going to help you. We're not here just to be on your ass. We're here to be safer. I mean, that's what it's about, right? I mean, safety is just number one, period. So anyway, sorry, got off in the weeds.
No, I love the weeds.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We had a meeting with a driver, and this isn't a shot at the driver, but one of the things he stated in the meeting is, I'm just not used to your guys' driving style. You know, and it's like, yeah, our style is top notch. Like we expect.
Right.
Yeah, I was speaking to a driver yesterday who used a great analogy. A lot of these people that are upset or they're struggling with the cameras and our data metrics and that, he said, he used this reference, they don't know what it's like to have to drive for a ghetto trucking company. And I'm like, that sounds true, you know, that you're running overweight everywhere you go. Anytime you see a cop on a side road, you're like, oh my God, is he pulling out?
Right.
Is he coming behind me? Or you know, your tarp's not working, or you know that there's something wrong with that truck that you are gonna get a ticket for.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, granted, our trucks break. You know, I mean, anything mechanical is gonna break, but we do our very best to get that repaired.
Right.
And you know, it's a never-ending struggle. It's a war, really.
It is.
Just like, you know, everything else that, you know, you have to deal with that adversity. But I just love that analogy. Like, you've not had to drive for that ghetto company yet, and and that's no fun.
Yeah. Well, they're asking you to take some out without brakes, or you know, they got
absolutely.
DOT. They're putting your livelihood at risk. You know.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can identify with that. We did ghetto shit 35 years ago, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? We hauled overweight as much as we could. We avoided the ports. You know what I mean?
Waited at the
we couldn't afford license plates.
Picked up and left, so then we would be able to leave.
Yeah. I mean, we've been there, done that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a new world, man. You either change and do it right, or you're not going to survive in this business, you know. And I know a lot of the things, something else that's been rolling around in my head, a lot of the metrics that we have, I love that word you use, Dave, for our efficiency and our safety program. You know, we think we have this incredible bar, like, oh my God, we think it's so great. Well, just so everyone knows, there was a new insurance company that came to town that really wooed us and wanted our business. And it's a new company called Nirvana, which I think is kind of a strange name for an insurance company.
Yeah, I think so.
But they strictly insure fleets with Samsara only. If you don't have a Samsara system, they don't insure you. Well, all they wanted to do was have all of our metrics, and we weren't good enough. and they wouldn't insure us.
That's weird. I wonder what their metrics are.
Right, Jam?
I want to see where their bar is because that doesn't make sense.
I mean, we input all the metrics for our safety score.
Right.
We input all the metrics we wanted for our efficiency. And they could be better. And I'm sure there's a lot of drivers out there listening to me say that, like, oh God, I hope they don't make them harder. And ultimately that is our goal, right?
The one thing I know we need to change is the following distance. That carries like 0.01.
It needs to carry more weight.
Yeah, it carries 0.1 weight. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like you could follow, too close 10 times and you've only lost 1 point. You would
Right.
still be a 99 driver.
Yeah.
That needs to be like a half a point.
Or a point.
Or a point
Yeah.
per, yeah. But that will flip the program upside.
Right.
Yeah, that'll,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess honestly, that's how easily people are achieving that 90 on their safety score, or 95, But come on, the people that are getting that 95 so easily, they're professionals.
Yeah.
We're not having following distance issues with them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the people that are following too close habitually, they're also speeding habitually, and they're also doing other things habitually.
Right. And that's where our safety coaches come into play.
Right.
Right? They need to sit down and go, okay, he's got 20 following too close events this week, and I'm making up 20 speeding events. We need to sit down. This isn't our style. This isn't what we want. This isn't what we accept.
No.
And we got to fix that.
Then we have the people, I was out trucking yesterday, coming down Highway 85, and I get it. I'm really Cadillacing, and I was caught behind some traffic, and I see a JFW truck, man, it seems like he's going really fast to me because he's in the left lane, and I'm probably doing 55, and passed me, got right up on the car, like, I was just like, and then I figured out who it was, and I was like, yeah, that's his MO. That's how he does it, He did move over back to the right, but then back to the left, like, he was on a mission.
Did you check his scores when you got back?
I didn't check his scores when I got back, but I know who it is, and I'm a pull video from his truck to see how it seemed, and when you're in a car or a different truck, to me it seems like anyone who's faster than you is a maniac.
Yeah.
Anyone who's slow is a dumbass, right?
Right.
So I need to pull it up and really see. Was it that bad, or did it just?
That's the public's
so true,
perception.
though,
It didn't look
Right?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we are looking for backup tipper drivers. If you want to know what that's all about, basically, so Jason Gamage, he is the main tipper driver now.
Yes.
I believe, and the backup, you will go around to these small boutique,
Microbreweries.
craft breweries. And they have these tippers. Some of them have silos, but you pull parallel to the tipper. You hook up some hydraulics, and it comes up and it loads your truck. And
I've heard the term, because I guess these tippers are just farm carts.
Oh, okay.
Is what I've heard, Jam. I don't know that, but I guess that's a common everyday item on a farm. Mm-hmm. So when we say tippers, I've heard them, like, farmers have been using these things for 50 years.
When we were doing the turkey compost years ago, they would put the dead birds in those things, and then
send them to Tyson.
What do you call it? The rendering trucks would come by and pick them up. So
Wow.
And they would, I would assume, they had similar hydraulics to our tipper.
Sure.
And they would load them that way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it is pretty cool. There's probably, these tippers can probably hold up to, 5 tons, 8 tons, something like that. And I mean, we have these hoses that you uncoil off of the truck for the hydraulic system. We have a diverter valve. You just engage your PTO, you hook up those lines, and then you stand at the frame of the truck and you run the lever, and it lifts the cart up and dumps it in your trailer. So you're loading yourself with that setup that we have. So,
and then off to the next brewery you go. You pick up until you're full, run into a dairy.
Yeah, I'm making it up. You could pick up 4 or 5 carts, depending on how full those are, or how 4 or 5 tippers. Then you may even top off at a microbrewery that has a silo, or whatever the case may be. So
there may or may not be freeware involved. I mean, No guarantees, but
Right.
wouldn't be shocked.
Right. Rumor is that may
Rumor
have
is
happened.
that may or may not have happened. Right. So yeah, if you're interested in doing that, contact Linda. She would be you, or you could actually just email dispatch or call dispatch. Yep.
Yep.
All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I know a lot of drivers have had problems with the loader up at Firestone.
Yep.
A guy named Dave.
Not me, Dave.
Not me either.
There's another Dave.
Yep. Could have been them, but it wasn't, right? Anyway, there's been just a lot of grief up there, kind of like pretty aggressive, maybe even passive sometimes, but it wasn't good. There's a lot of...
It wasn't going to end well, right, Jam?
There was a lot of tension up there. Whether, what came first, the chicken or the egg, I don't know. According to Dave, he's upset because we don't follow the traffic pattern right and we don't do this. But there's a way to ask people to do it the right way, if that's even true. But our leadership talked with their leadership, and we have a truce, I believe. So Dave is going to back off, and if there's any problems, he's going to contact his leadership to contact us, to contact our drivers. But we do ask that we do our part.
Absolutely.
Right? Follow the correct traffic patterns. Use good pit etiquette. Don't do anything that makes us look bad in there. And I'm not saying you guys were, but this is what was relayed to us, so it is a give and take.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to go up there and do our part.
Right.
Right? Are we going to go up there and could we make a mistake going up there and do something wrong? Absolutely. Yeah. You hop on the high road and you go, man, I am so sorry. I saw that. I read that. I did it wrong. I understand. I won't do it like that next time. You know what I mean? We've all made mistakes.
It's so important.
It's no big deal. And hopefully Dave will have the understanding now to go, all right, you do it again, JFW. I'm calling you out. You'll be out. I'm kicking you out for 30 days or whatever the case may be.
Well, you should be calling his boss.
Should be. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
It's so easy when you're greeted with an attitude that you reflect. Oh. And so you raise your attitude to match that other person's attitude. And that's exactly what you can't do. Yeah. You got to take the high road. And as you just said, Dave, say you were sorry and you'll do it better next time. And butter as toast, if you will. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Attitudes are contagious. Make sure yours is worth catching.
Right. Right.
You may want to write that down. It could possibly be on the knowledge change. I don't know.
Oh, dang.
All right. BD, you brought this up to me yesterday, and this is big news, and I did a little more research, and we're going to get into some details, but our big fear here at JFW is having the big one, right, where God forbid we're in a serious accident where there's serious injuries and or death. The main part of that is we don't want to hurt or kill anybody.
Absolutely.
Right? But when something like that happens, there's this thing called a nuclear verdict that could come with that. And that's where you or JFW is found guilty of a crime, or civilly, I should say, and you get handed $150 million lawsuit or something that is just not possible for us to continue doing business. We got to shut our doors, basically, right? Werner was involved in an accident, and they received a nuclear verdict, and that was just recently overturned. So,
and this was 7 years ago, Jam?
Yes.
I don't know if it says that in there, or if you wrote that part down.
Yep, 2018.
So that was the original verdict. The accident happened in 2014.
Okay.
Yep.
So 11 years ago
so,
now.
Yeah, long time.
So they've been battling for over a decade, this one accident, right?
Yep.
So I'm sorry, Jan. Keep going. I'll interject
when you feel like it.
I'll interrupt you when I want to.
Yeah. The podcast is always a conversation. It's never me just reading. It shouldn't be. I don't like when it is. But anyway, we'll get into it. The Texas Supreme Court recently reversed a significant jury verdict against Werner Enterprises, overturning a $90 million judgment awarded in a fatal trucking accident case. The court ruled that the evidence did not support a finding that Werner's actions were the proximate cause of the accident. This decision has implications for future trucking litigation in Texas, potentially limiting the scope of the reptile theory arguments and providing new legal footing for trucking companies to challenge inflated damages. And listen, like, it's kind of good news for the trucking industry if you're not guilty.
Right.
You know, if
Right.
you did not cause this accident just because you're the big trucking company with a lot of trucks and, you know, supposedly money, doesn't mean that people could just sue you and win and shut you down.
Yeah.
Because the accident, this stemmed from a 2014 accident where a pickup truck crossed the median and collided with a Werner truck. The initial jury verdict found Werner 70% responsible, along with its driver, for the accident, which resulted in the death of a child and severe injuries to others. The initial verdict, the jury awarded the plaintiffs over $100 million, with 84% of the responsibility assigned to Werner and his driver. This included significant damages for wrongful death and personal injuries. So why, and I know you got your finger on the pulse of this, Brother Dave, why isn't it Werner's fault?
Well, I'll back up a little bit, because what you read, the way I understood it, Jam, you've got a 4-lane highway each direction, right? Car going, I'm just going to pick directions, right, so everybody can clearly understand this. Car going, and it was a pickup going westbound on whatever interstate they were on.
I-70 in Wheat Ridge.
Perfect. Westbound on I-70 in Wheat Ridge. Well, we can't use that one because the Werner truck wasn't even on the other side of the highway. It was on the frontage road next to the highway. So this pickup loses control on his side of the highway, crosses that, what'd you say, Jam, 29-foot wide median.
42-foot wide.
42-foot wide median, crosses the oncoming freeway, crosses the next median and bounces into the frontage road and hits the Werner truck.
Wow. I knew about the case. I didn't know that the Werner truck
Right.
was on the frontage road.
Yes.
I thought it was in the oncoming
on the
lane.
frontage road. So it would have been oncoming, but oncoming
But
on the
on the
frontage road.
frontage road.
Yeah. So, and the way they found Werner guilty was they said Werner knew that there was a storm and they should have shut the truck down. Truck shouldn't have been out there in the storm. Well, they found the truck was going well under speed limit.
Right.
It was well within control. I believe they did find that he didn't have his CB on, and he should have been checking the weather on his CB. You know, that was another like bogus
Right.
deal that they found that they helped find him guilty with, and some other crazy stuff. And I guess, you know, some of the things that we go through here at JFW, you know, I mean, we have an accident. It's like, oh my gosh, how bad is it? Is anybody hurt? And who's at fault?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are the first questions we always ask. How bad is it? Is anybody hurt? Are we at fault? You know, and if we were to have this case happen to us, we would be like, we would at least breathe a sigh of relief knowing it wasn't our fault. Right? We weren't at fault. And then all of a sudden, we're being sued.
Right.
Why are we being sued for this? Oh my God, we're going to court. And oh my, we lost. We lost it. How were we at fault for this? And I guess, you know, when people listen to us talk on this podcast, these are the crazy things that are happening to business. And I don't know if it's just a money grab, if the lawyers are so involved, if this is a push to put the hammer on industry. I can't honestly say what it is, what carries the weight to promote something that in my heart is 100% wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
That truck wasn't at fault. That company wasn't at fault. That driver wasn't at fault. He did nothing wrong. He was well within his control. Even after the accident, he was able to stop in control.
Yeah.
And I just, how do you eliminate that? So now it's like, oh, it might snow today. Park everything.
Right.
Right? You know, next thing, you're either out of business because you're out trying to work, or you're out of business because you're not working. And we have to work, you know? And so when we talk about these accidents and incidents, it's nuclear verdicts are crazy. They are just crazy. And that's the reason we have Samsara, to protect ourselves, to show the camera. You know, that's the reason we're harping on following distance. That's the reason we're harping on speed. We can't be at fault in one of these scenarios. We can't be. You know, and look at, they've been fighting this case for over a decade.
Right.
And it had to go to the Texas Supreme Court to get someone to look at it and go, well, these guys aren't guilty.
Right.
What did they do wrong?
And how much did
You
it
know?
cost them and
I
legal
can't
fees.
imagine, Jim.
Right.
I can't
For-
imagine.
Yeah, for something that was not their fault.
Yeah. When I say millions, I don't know if that's 1, 3, 10. Yeah, I mean you don't have your backyard attorneys fighting this case.
No.
You've hired some high power attorneys that deal with this every day. But at a certain point, Jim and I talk about this stuff all the time, and it's like we would fight this case to the end. We would die trying and go broken out of business trying to clear our name versus go down in flames.
Right.
Because it's just the right thing to do. And we've always lived by that no matter what, even when we're at fault, you want to do the right thing. Right. We've broken windshields because we've had a tailgate come open or whatever the case may be, or we had rock falling over the top. When we're wrong, we replace those people's windshields. We pay for it. You guys are a testament sitting here in this room. I'm pointing at Jam and Super Dave. Joe wouldn't know that, but when we're at fault, we don't want to be the bad guy and just go, "Oh, good luck." And I guess to me that's that's why we're celebrating 90 years tomorrow.
Right.
We're focused on doing it right. You guys that are listening to this podcast, you're working for a company. We focus on doing it right. We're asking you, we're teaching you, we're begging you, do it right. You will last, you will survive, you will be better. We're the tough teacher. All of that stuff. What we're doing here, I just don't believe a lot of companies do. I just don't believe it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the offensive part sometimes, because I've lived what you're saying. When we're at fault, right, we'll admit it, and whether it was windshield or a motor vehicle accident, we'll play the video and the words will be up, we own this one.
Yeah.
And then we make sure that we take care of our part. But if we're not at fault, we take the gloves off and we will fight tooth and nail.
Right.
Like, I don't, if you're BSing us about your windshield, we're going to fight you and you're going to be mad and you're going to tell us you're going to sue us and you're going to give us a bad Google review. I mean, although it's like so predictive, like, we're not paying for this windshield. Next day, JFW broke my windshield. And it's like, no, we didn't.
Yeah.
We were empty. We were
hauled 5 loads of sand before that.
Yeah, all week that truck only goes on sand. Like, a rock the size of a softball didn't come out of that. Like, just the BS that you hear.
Right. Yeah.
So it kind of hurts to tell these people no sometimes, and then get the tongue lashing from them about what a shitty company we are. When really, if you knew how many windshields we did buy, we're just not buying yours because you're a liar, or you don't understand what actually happened. You just know your windshield broke. Yeah.
So people don't understand the act of God thing. I had an example that happened to me and involved a state patrol. I was northbound I-25. A Jeep was southbound I-25, and they lost a whole wheel and tire. And the wheel and tire obviously is bouncing like crazy coming southbound at me. And Dave, I was training Jewett at the time.
Oh, wow.
And so
I smell a rat. Sorry,
backstory
on that.
I mean, we watched it coming. It was slow motion, right? So we actually stopped in our lane.
Yeah.
And this tire came bouncing down and hit our bumper. Thank God it didn't bounce any higher. But anyway, it dented the crap out of the truck. So we went up to Highway 7, turned around, came back. And at that point, a state patrolman was on the side of the road with the Jeep. And we get out and cruise up to the guy and say, "Hey, man, that wheel and tire just smashed my bumper. Check it out."
Yeah.
And that state patrolman said, "Did it bounce?" And I was like, "Yeah, it bounced right over the median." He goes, "That's an act of God. It could have bounced any direction in the world, happened to bounce at you, and there's nothing you can do about it." And I was like, "Really? That's bullshit." I watched
Dave?
it come right off the car and hit me,
Yeah.
But that's the way it works.
Yeah, the way the law is written about debris, right? Even if something, and we pay for these windshields, if something falls off our truck, bounces off the ground, and then hits your window and breaks it, JFW is going to pay it. But the way the law...
It was an act of God.
The way the law is
that
written...
we caused.
Right, exactly. The way that the law is written is it would have to fall off the truck onto your car. Once it hits the ground, we're not responsible.
Right.
And that's frustrating and it sucks, but that is the law. We don't play that game. We're not going to be like, well, did it bounce on the ground first? Oh, it did? Yep, we're not responsible. But we do ask people, like, where did the rock come from? Oh, it came off your tire. Yeah, we're not paying for a rock that came off our tire.
Yeah, just for people to do some math while they're going down the road. When you see those POS gravel trucks, sand and gravel trucks that have the stickers on the tailgates that say stay back 500 feet,
Doesn't matter.
well, do you know why? Anything that falls off of their truck is guaranteed to hit the ground before it goes 500 feet.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So they're not responsible for a damn thing.
Yeah.
That's the reason we don't have those stickers on our stuff. You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
think the sticker would hold up in a court of law. Well, you weren't back 500 feet, and the sign told you to be back 500 feet. I don't think that's going to hold up.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
that gives them the out, Dave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Speaking of outs, one thing I think that these lower courts thought of with this Werner verdict, the reason why they held Werner accountable for that $100 million. The one article I read in 2024, their revenue, I don't know if it's net or gross, probably gross, was $3 billion.
Sure.
They have over 7,000 or 8,000 trucks on the road. So the people probably thought, well, you know, this family lost a 7-year-old boy. We need to give them something. And this is pennies for this giant trucking company. And I really think that they might have made their decision based on that, not on the fact that Werner wasn't doing anything wrong.
Hey, every billboard down the highway.
Yep.
You know, if you've been hit by a truck, doesn't matter whether
I
that
know
company
it.
has 1,000 or 1.
Yeah,
So-
and I went to a Flood and Peat conference up in Fort Collins last year, and the legal counsel for Flood and Peat talked about nuclear verdicts and said that it's impossible to have an impartial jury in these cases anymore because of the publicity around the cases and these nuclear verdicts. The juries think, well, ABC Trucking Company, got hit for $50 million on this one. In this case, is a little bit worse, so we're going to go $70 million.
Yeah.
So, I think, and this is my personal opinion, but leaving the damage numbers up to a jury is not the way to do it, because these are common people who 99% of them have no idea how things work in this industry or how revenue works for a trucking company. So for them to kind of arbitrarily just throw a number at it, I think that's where the problem is. I think there needs to be a little bit more structure around how these things are done. If a trucking company is at fault,
Right.
let's say, and truly at fault,
Right.
then there should be guidance for how much they should be awarded, or something beyond just pulling numbers out of the air.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, this thing about the reptile theory has really piqued my interest. So-
Yeah, I hadn't heard that before. Reptile theory.
Yeah.
Must just be. I view it as like something shedding skin.
No,
right?
so-
In its next case, it gets a little bigger. Next case, it gets a little bigger.
So what it is, and I'll just read what I wrote here. The decision is seen as a potential curb on the use of reptile theory arguments in trucking litigation, which often focuses on broader safety narratives to argue for larger damages. In the past decade, we've heard the rise of the term reptile theory, the strategy of a plaintiff lawyer unlocking the jury's reptilian brain, triggering the primitive part of their minds to make decisions based on fear and anger instead of using logic and applying the facts of the case. Meaning, wow, Werner had a truck on the road in the storm. That just shows they don't care about the public.
Right.
They didn't need to go deliver that load. They got a lot of money. They could have just, for the public safety, and they don't care about you or your family.
Right.
So.
So it's obviously a theory that's used in many circumstances, not just a truck accident.
I mean, if they've named it.
Yeah, right. It's happened a lot.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I feel there's a change in the air since.
The new administration.
Well, you know where I'm going with it, right, Jen? Do
Yeah.
you not feel that? I feel these crazy verdicts
Right.
are being affected by the new administration. That this isn't going to be tolerated. This is
Yeah, I feel
these are impossible numbers, impossible verdicts. These things, it's not even right.
I feel like it's going to take a while, but we're returning to a more rational baseline.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
I do. So well put, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It'll be a minute because there's still some people out there. They are.
Oh,
not-
yeah.
Well,
You know, their baseline.
back to the people in the pickup truck Did you guys read, or is it a true fact, I don't know, that they were not seat belted in and that they were also speeding? I heard both of those things.
Dave, it's been so long since I read it's been years since I read the case. So, yeah.
So where did that come up in the trial, right?
Well, sometimes like that Wabash settlement that was a verdict like this, they weren't allowed in that case to put the facts in that both the driver and the passenger were so drunk they were double the legal limit when they hit the back of that trailer. But they sued Wabash Trailer Manufacturing, got this crazy verdict, and they shouldn't have even been on the road. And I guess these are the crazy things that I'm like, what? How is this even possible?
Yeah, that's
You're
legal.
drunk, double the legal limit, and it's my fault?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just sitting there because traffic stopped, minding my own business like all the other cars. Mm-hmm. You hit me because you're drunk beyond the legal limit, and that part wasn't admissible in court? Mm-hmm. Because it became
that was just some legal loophole, right?
They couldn't find anybody to blame for the accident, right? And the families wanted justice. Maybe they should have sued the liquor store that these guys bought all their liquor at, or I don't know.
Or the bartender.
I still think that's a cop out, right? You should. When are we going to be responsible for ourselves?
Right.
Our own actions, right? That's what this administration is getting back to, Jam. When are we going to be responsible for ourselves? But anyway, yeah, in that case, it wasn't a case of traffic or anything. It was a manufacturing lawsuit because they were able to build some guideline into it that the ICC bumper in the back was X amount of years old. It had rust on it, and blah, 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 blah. But I mean, it was hit at 55. I think they're only tested at 25 or 30. It met all the guidelines. This was a false case.
Yeah. Interesting though, too, this is a little bit off subject, but on my little road trip that I took last week, I passed a brand new Wabash trailer.
Yeah.
And it was brand new. I mean, it was so new. It was shiny. Even the gray undercarriage was clean as a whistle.
Yeah.
Holy crap, you should have seen that ICC bumper. It had like 5 different supports that were like 5-inch I-beam, beams. And I was like, wow, that thing's got to be strong. You hit it at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
That manufacturing plant is huge, Dave. I mean, I had no idea when Sam went to school up there in West Lafayette. It's right there on the Wabash River in Lafayette, Indiana. I mean, it's a massive, massive facility. I don't know how many acres it sets on. And man, you drive through there, and I'm making it up, but like Saya has like 50 trailers there ready to be delivered. Old Dominion has like 100 trailers there ready to be delivered. And they're their trailers because they have all the signage on them.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Sure.
They just need picked up and delivered. So it's crazy the amount of trailers they have in there and build every day.
Wild. Implication for future cases. The ruling provides a new legal framework for trucking companies and their defense counsel in Texas, potentially allowing them to more effectively challenge inflated damages and verdicts in similar cases. And that's what you were talking about, Joe.
Yeah.
There should be some guidelines. Werner's leadership expressed relief and satisfaction with the ruling, emphasizing that the company did nothing wrong and the outcome was a long-awaited win, according to Transport Topics. So
nice.
Good for Werner.
Yes.
Hi, Joe. As mentioned, we have Joe Trussell from CDL 303. He is an owner, partner with Scott Maurer.
Yeah.
Joe's here by himself today. Joe, catch us up. What's been going on with CDL 303 since the last time you've been here?
We're growing. We're doing good. We're, as it turns out, not really our intention, but we appear to be kind of a disruptor in the local industry, which is great.
That is good.
And the reason being, we're not a CDL factory. We're still a very small school. We keep our class sizes down to 3 students per instructor. So there's no standing around time. Your butt's in the seat the whole time, learning pre-trip, over the road, and parking maneuvers. We run a really intensive course, and we've been extremely successful. Added a couple of trainers since the last time we saw you. One guy came through our program. He had his CDL previously and completed the program, and it turns out that when he was in the class, we noticed that he was helping his classmates and teaching them. And he's actually from Algeria originally, and he was a high school PE coach and a professional soccer player there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And just a great guy all around. So when he graduated, he said, I need some help finding a job. And we said, well, why don't you just stick around? It's like Top Gun. Cool. You graduate, you can come back and be an instructor. So the business is going really well. I feel like we're doing it the right way. We're creating a culture and creating a reputation around town as putting out good drivers,
nice.
Quality drivers, safe drivers.
What do you mean by disrupting the industry? Tell us more about that.
I think the fact that we're small, we have low overhead, we have 3 trucks now, 4 trailers, so cool. We're growing. But like I said, we're not a factory. There's no standing around time, and not to knock anybody in particular, but you see some of the other trucking schools. You see guys who are standing around waiting their turn, waiting to get hours.
Gotcha.
And we've heard some horror stories of sitting in classrooms and trying to stay awake and not having instructors, not getting proper training.
I see.
So for us, it's all about putting out the best drivers that we can and giving the most attention to each individual driver as we can. And it seems to be a winning formula.
Nice.
And as we build that reputation, we're starting to get referrals from graduates, which to me is the best compliments you can get.
Right.
Best advertising too.
Yeah, people are leaving our program and telling their friends, and that's how we're building it. We're patient and it's coming together. And that's on the CDL side. On the mountain training side, we're still working with Road Aware Safety Systems down in Phoenix. They have their own driver monitoring software that they offer to fleets, and then we've got I think 4 fleets now who are doing the mountain training program, and very successful there. We've gotten overwhelmingly positive reviews from the drivers. We've also gotten some negative reviews, which to me validates what we're doing, that these guys are being honest. I've had a couple of reviews where the guys have said, I've been trucking for 30 years, I don't need this. And I appreciate that,
right.
But overwhelmingly the feedback from drivers is this is critical information, this is critical knowledge that's helping me become a better driver. So the mountain training is doing its thing. So, and I do, like I said, we're very small. It's me and Scott, and we have 2 trainers now. And, when we do sign up a new fleet for mountain training, I spend a lot of time resetting passwords. It kind of goes that as soon as I sign up 100 drivers, I know I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks resetting their passwords. So, I'm out there doing sales and marketing, and I do all the enrollment and admin, and then I'm tech support as well.
That's
so,
all
but that's
hats.
A small business.
All the hats.
We are working hard. Scott recently got his testing license.
Yep.
We used to outsource our testing, so he's no longer training due to conflict of interest. We have 2 trainers, so we keep it small. We've got 5 students right now, I think, from all walks of life, which is great. It's really fun to see how these people connect and help each other through the program, and I think having these small classes really promotes that.
That's cool.
So it's a lot of fun, I have to say. Building a business has turned out to be
That's great.
just fun.
Yeah, that's great.
What's your vision with you being more boutique and a smaller shop? What's your vision though? Because you and Scott both seem like the guys that are going to grow something.
We do want growth. I mean, we do want to be a bigger, successful company, to insulate us from, market downturns and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But we do not want to be the biggest in town.
That's not the goal.
That is not the goal. The goal is to be the highest quality in town. We want to be
Perfect.
we want to be the guys that you want to send your drivers to.
Yeah, Jim and Dave and Super Dave always tells a story in his interviews because these guys had like a life coach come in that helped with the creed and all these things. And he interviewed Jim and Dave, about what they want and stuff like that. And they never said they want to be the biggest endo company. They never said they want to, make the most money, So
There was our that creed right there. That was our top 6, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nowhere does it say money or size or anything like that.
Yeah, it's all about being ethical and providing safety to the industry.
Right.
That is the biggest thing. Anybody who leaves our program from CDL 303, I want somebody to be proud to hire them.
Nice.
I think that's the most important thing, and that's the best way for us to grow this business.
Now, you guys have a 100% pass rate as well, right? Everyone that's gone through your school.
Everybody who's gone through the school has completed the course and graduated. We have some drivers who come in with experience who knock it out of the park. We have other people who need a little bit more. We have some people who come in for a Class A and turns out maybe they're better suited for a Class B. So we have that conversation with them. We show them that there are plenty of employment opportunities for Class B as well, and maybe we can get them through the program that way. But we don't cut corners. We don't pass anybody who's not ready. You've met Scott. Yeah. He is not the type to give out anything. So he makes a pretty tough, pretty good tester.
I can see that.
And the fact that and he'll kill me for saying this, but the fact that he's kind of detached from the training process, they're scared of him. They are. I mean, and they learn, once they get through the test, they see that he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun that, oh man, once Scott gets a hold of you,
he takes his position seriously.
Very seriously.
That's great.
Very seriously.
Yeah. It's a serious job.
It is. No, and like I said, it's all about safety.
It is.
Yeah. Is there a school requirement for the Class B? Like VA, like you have to go through school?
Oh yeah. You have to take entry level driver training specific to Class B. Gotcha. It's a little bit shorter than the Class A program.
Gotcha.
But and then the Class B course is shorter, a little less expensive.
Gotcha. But you can't just go test out.
No, that's the rules have changed.
Yes.
To the point where you have to you don't have to go to a school, but you have to be able to find a way to log hours with the FMCSA that show that you've done your 30 hours behind the wheel before you can test out.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there are a lot of little kind of nuances to the rules there, but we are completely by the book. We do not cut corners anywhere.
Nice.
I come from a heavily regulated industry that I was in before in finance and dealing with the SEC and FINRA, these government agencies that come in and just turn your place upside down. I know what that's like. So that I bring a unique set of skills to this. Everything is documented. Everything, all the books are perfect. I mean, I do all that stuff. So
Nice.
we are ironclad and ready if anybody wants to come check us out. Because how could you sleep at night otherwise?
Yeah.
If the law requires 30 hours of road training, how many classroom hours are required?
So classroom hours are no longer required by the FMCSA. It's a 6-hour online course, extremely thorough. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it's covers all the bases. Sections, quizzes, all that kind of stuff has to be passed, and then those results from that entry-level driver training are uploaded to FMCSA. Your certificate is. So
Gotcha.
That's on your record forever that you pass that, no matter where you do it.
Gotcha.
I will say some schools charge $400 for that. We give it to you for free if you enroll in our program.
Nice.
And then we also offer the mountain training program to all of our graduates.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Joe, am I wrong? I feel like Sam did that class before he started school with you. Is that
He did
do I have that right?
the ELDT class. Yes, he
Okay.
did. He did. And I enrolled him in mountain training. He hadn't logged in yet, but
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay.
well, it's funny. We tell our students you're going to go through, and when you graduate, you're going to be enrolled in our mountain training class. And if you do the entire 3-hour course plus the follow-up courses, you get a mountain certificate, which looks good on a resume. It's an
Yeah.
extra safety feature.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, I got my CDL. I'm not doing that.
Right.
But
Right.
I enroll them anyway, and they get the annoying emails from me that say, you're enrolled in this class.
Interesting. I haven't heard that. We will have a conversation
Sam might,
about that. Thank you for sharing that.
I was going to say, Sam may get an annoying phone call.
Yeah.
That was the next thing I was going to bring up is we sent 2 of our family members down to CDL 303. That would be Erica White and Sam White, and they both got their CDLs through your school.
And yeah, I honored that you would entrust their training with us.
Yeah.
That is just that is a feather in our cap that we're extremely proud of and extremely grateful for.
Oh, we're thankful.
Man, Sam walked in like he had been doing it 30 years. And I'll tell you, Sam is the first student that we have ever had who walked in and did the reverse offset parking maneuver on the first try. Perfectly. They walked in at lunch, and Yassine, our trainer, said that this kid, Sam, he did the reverse offset the first time. First time? He said, flawless, perfect.
That's
So we said,
funny.
man, we got something special with him. And Erica too. It was obvious that they had been around trucks and they knew their way around
Sure.
a truck and picked it up really quick. Erica she was great to be around. That energy and that enthusiasm was
Right.
just infectious. Her classmates loved her. She took a little bit longer than Sam because she had some other stuff going on, but she knocked it out of the park when it came down to it.
Good.
Sam was just an affable, cool guy to be around. He and I talked cars for an hour one day.
He said that. I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great conversation. It's funny. We get students in, and each class is different, and you make connections with these folks, and it's kind of sad to see them go.
Right.
Because you want to keep them around, and that's kind of how it was with Sam and Erica.
Yeah.
They were just kind of slid right in and comfortable and enthusiastic and good students.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're thankful for allowing them to be in there.
What's the next step? Is there a next goal for CDL 303?
I think on the CDL side, we need another truck.
Okay.
we need to pick up another automatic. Our goal, we keep our goals, right in front of us as far as the CDL side goes. We want to expand a little bit more. We're taking 12 students a month right now.
Gotcha.
We would like to eventually get up to, say, 24 students a month, but that's going to require a lot more infrastructure and a lot more planning on our part. So that's more of a long-term goal.
Okay.
And I think we'll be happy there. Like you said, we want to remain kind of a boutique type shop. On the mountain training side, the goals are much larger.
Okay.
We would like to see every major fleet that runs the mountains take our mountain training course, because we've seen the feedback we've gotten, the results we've gotten from a couple of the larger fleets that we work with have been overwhelmingly positive, and they believe that they're increasing safety in their fleets, and we would like to continue that.
Sure.
And continue our work with RoadAware. Those are great guys down in Phoenix. Their driver monitoring program is really starting to take off, and they're offering the mountain training in conjunction with that. So the goal there is much larger. That's more of a national thing. That's going to require a lot more password resets for me, but that's a risk I'm willing to take.
You need to automate that.
I kind of want to back up a little bit, Joe. I let it kind of slide when you made the comment, but you said you talked to some companies or people, and you'll have a driver that shows up in there for the mountain training, and he's like, I've been driving for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I struggle with that, right? That comment, I've been doing this a long time too, and it seems like every day there's something we learn.
Yeah.
And I guess Jim and I have learned we don't make that comment.
Right.
I know what I'm doing. Well, I know what I'm doing, but I may need help with something. You know what I mean? Or I didn't know that. And I guess, how we did it 30 years ago isn't how we do it today.
Right.
And we've had drivers show up here that didn't make it.
Yeah.
That have 30 years driving experience because it was too difficult to do it the right way.
Yeah.
They may have been driving for 30 years, but for 30 years they rode their brakes all the way down the hill.
Right.
Well, guess what? But not here.
Yeah.
That's not how we do it. That's not the goal. That is not, so I can probably name less than 5 people on one hand that are that 30-year guy that I would have no questions with them saying or making that comment.
Sure.
And that's just very few. You know what I mean? And I guess it irritates me because I would think, I've been driving for 30 years. I wonder what I can learn here.
Right.
You know what I mean? I guess I would much rather hear that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just something that sticks with me a
yeah.
little bit. You know, it's like, come on, man, there's nothing you can learn.
Yeah, and I'm the one who I use RotoWare's data, but I'm the one who wrote the program. So I mean, there's a little bit of a personal hit if somebody
I bet. Yeah.
Joe, you
if
can't
somebody
teach
doesn't
us
find
anything.
value in it, you know.
I mean, I guess I jump back, and every time I'm wowed by something that we've been dealing with, you know what I mean? Like, here's an example of some of the gear ratio things we have not fought, just seen evolve over 30 plus years, you know, in the industry. And I'm going to rewind back to like our dad's day, you know, and the rear end ratios, they were like 456 rear end ratios, right? And then we dropped to 433s, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, we're running 390s. What? How are we running 390? You're not going to have any power to get off the line, right? And it's like, well, these new engines have so much more torque.
Right.
You know, and
right.
well, that's going to give you better fuel mileage because we can go, 55 at, I'm making it up, back then at like 1900 RPM.
Yeah.
You know, and well, as the engines have evolved and they call it down speed, right? They don't want engines running at 1900 RPM. Their sweet spot is between 12 and 1500 tops, right? You know, so as those engines have been downsped, our ratios have been increased, and I mean, we're borderline about to drop into the 2 ratio mark. You know, and if I were to say a number, it's probably wrong. I want to say 290s, and I don't even know that that's the right ratio, what it would drop to.
Right.
You know, versus right now we're running some 308s, and it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, and I guess those are things. And when I say we were proven wrong, we were worried because, to me, we're at this precipice where, okay, we're moving a lever. We go from these 308s to I'll say 290, even though I don't know that's the right number for the ratio, and we're in a pull on the mountain, pulling make it up, 7% grade for X amount of miles. And it's funny, when you tell an engineer that's what the truck needs to be capable of, they think we do that for 10 hours a day.
Right.
Not 20 minutes at a time, 4 times a day.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So they change their philosophy, and it's like, well, you need this. And it's like, well, wait a minute. The rest of the day we're doing this. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, we truly did just learn, between the torque of the engines and the way the transmissions are geared, that 290 has more torque and power available than that 308 does.
Right.
So we will actually go up the mountain better with a higher geared ratio. And I'm like, okay, that goes against everything, every principle I've known for 30 plus years.
Sure.
And it's right there. It is on the sheet of paper. You can't argue the graph.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
something else I just ran into, because we're comparing all these Jake engine, I call them still Jakes from Jake Brakes, but
Right.
engine brake horsepower. And there's this one on the Detroit, and I had no idea. I was blown away when I saw this. When you're on stage 2 and stage 3, the horsepower is almost the same on a DD15. The retarding horsepower is almost the same once you get over 1500 RPM. And I'm like, no way.
Wow.
No way. And it's right there on the graph. I
Yeah.
mean, it is. And you know, they start out, they're completely separate at the bottom. And then as it goes up the graph, you know, increasing horsepower, you hit that 1500 mark, and the 2 lines just damn near come together and peak out. And I'm like, no way. How on 2 heads is it as powerful almost as 3?
Yeah.
You know, when you have a third missing, it just, the technology and how and I guess when I would feel so ignorant to sit here and say, I've been doing this for 30 years, that's impossible.
Right.
And the engineer hands me a sheet of paper and proves me wrong. I'm like, oh my God, I feel pretty stupid. Right. So I guess
No,
I take
hear
it.
you. I hear you.
It makes me a little edgy when somebody shows up and says, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I bet there's something you can learn. I know I sure can.
Sure.
So-
Sure. That's it's funny. We have a mentor, an older retired trainer, CDL trainer, who comes by the shop every once in a while and tells us stories and gives us advice. And he said, you know, some of the most difficult students are guys who have been driving Class B for 20 years and think they know everything. And they come in and they're so gruff that they're incapable of learning because they think they're an expert. And those are the hardest students you'll have.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
always
so
got
funny.
to keep learning. Got to be open.
Yeah, I you know, that kind of makes me think, because when I got my CDL, you just tested, right? You went to the state, you took your written test, and then it was just like your car test. You signed up, and the instructor came
drive
out,
test, and you're done.
hopped in the truck, you drove around the block, down the street, you pass, fail, right, off you go. Not a big deal. And my wife wanted her motorcycle license, and I grew up on motorcycles, on dirt bikes and stuff, and actually had a street bike and didn't have a license and was just riding the street bike with no license. What? And I was like, you know what? I need my license. Let's go to school, and we'll go through the little training thing. And this was, I don't know, 25 years ago or whatever. And I'll never forget, there was a couple, biker dudes that had their own Harleys, and they've been riding their entire life, but like me, didn't have their license. So like, hey, I'll get it right. And a lot of them were there with their wives or girlfriends or, other just people in the class. And you had the option of bringing your bike or using one of their bikes. And everybody's like, oh, bring your own bike, bring your own bike. I'm like, I'm just going to ride one of their bikes. My wife doesn't have a bike. She'll ride one, I'll ride one, it'll be fine, I forget what we tested on, these little 125s or 175s. Right. I don't even remember. And they were kind of POSs, but Joe, these Harley guys flunked right out of the test. They couldn't do the maneuvers. They thought they knew everything. I mean, like, every time I turned around, it was like, pew, another guy out of the class, pew, another guy out of the class. Some of them would leave angry, like, this is BS, I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
And they're fighting, and I'm like, dude, you just failed epically. Like, I watched you on the road course. You shouldn't be riding, you know what I mean? You're a danger to yourself and others on the roads, And my wife is getting more and more nervous, and she was great. She rolled right through the test. We both have our licenses, and I guess maybe some of those things have stuck with me since then. Like, I know what I'm doing. Well, I bet you do, but you can maybe learn something.
Yeah. Well, a little humility goes a long way.
Right?
Right.
Joe, any other news out of the CDL 303 camp before we move on?
Just bringing students in, getting them trained.
Okay.
We're doing well. I will say, when we were starting out and revenue wasn't there and students are hard to come by, it's a grind, and me and Scott almost killed each other a few times, but now that we've knock wood, we're bringing students in, and we've got a culture building.
Nice.
We're in a pretty good place right now.
That's awesome.
Sam said it was a great experience.
Thank
he
you.
did really love
That's
it.
great.
Yeah, he was pretty impressed. So.
Great feedback from Erica as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear things are going well for you guys over there. One of the reasons, or the main reason, Joe came on the show today is his family suffered a loss recently, and we want to get their story out, his daughter's story out. Joe, I'm just going to let you take it from here and, give us a background of what's going on and
Okay.
where we're at and how we can help, if we can help, and just things like that.
Sure thing. Well, I am very appreciative of the opportunity. I think getting my daughter Megan's story out everywhere I can is extremely important. So I'll just kind of start from the beginning. On February 12th, my ex-wife and I had not heard from Megan. She's a student at CU Boulder, freshman, film major, really enjoying school, really spreading her wings and, becoming the person she was going to become. We noticed we hadn't received texts from her, and she hadn't read her texts, and it turned out that she was missing. Her roommate hadn't seen her for 3 days. We went up to Boulder, and then, after a search, we worked with CUPD, and then the Boulder County Sheriff had a search with 7 agencies, 8 drones, 8 dogs up in Boulder Canyon, where her phone last pinged. Her remains were found on February 15th, up in the canyon. The circumstances were extremely strange. I'll say that. What we found out was that she had left her dorm room on Sunday night. We saw video footage of her leaving the dorm about 9:15, 9:30 on Sunday night. We believe she was probably going to Circle K to get a Diet Coke. She was a Diet Coke drinker.
Fanatic.
One of those. And we believe that at some point during her walk across campus, she was last seen by the stadium on video. At some point after that, she was likely intercepted by someone, by some people, and then it goes dark. And then her remains were found up the canyon, several miles, 2 miles up the canyon, just before the turnout for the park up there. There's a homeless encampment and a culvert that goes under the highway up there, and her body was found at the end of that culvert. So obviously, just a tragedy, a devastating loss for us, and a nightmare those first few days. I can't put into words what it was like, and I would not wish that on my worst enemy, anybody, to have to go through that. But we did get through it. And then it turned to the questions about the case. The case was turned over from CUPD, who was over their heads. They good people.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe. CUPD, so Colorado University Police Department.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So campus police.
Campus police.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd like to say, before I get into this, because I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit, I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. Some of my closest friends for my entire life are in law enforcement. I count, people in Louisiana, where I'm from, state troopers or state police here in Colorado. I've met some of the best people in the world. CBI, we have friends there. I've got friends with Homeland Security. You drink beer with half of Denver for 30 years, you make a lot of friends. And a lot of those are in law enforcement. I mean, I ran from the cops when I was a teenager like everybody else, but as you get older and you become an adult, you make these connections, and I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. I think they have one of the most difficult jobs in the world, and they do their best. However, when the case was turned over to the Boulder County Sheriff, I was excited initially that even after the work CUPD had done, we were getting with a bigger agency, a bigger organization, and we had a detective assigned. But it became obvious pretty early on that they thought that Megan had committed suicide, which didn't make sense. That an 18-year-old would leave her dorm room on Super Bowl Sunday night and walk 6 miles up into Boulder Canyon to a homeless encampment and lay down and die. It just, based on, and I should say that, no parent wants to believe that their kid took their own life.
Right.
And I understand that. And I'm a grieving parent. However, it just didn't add up for us. We met with the detective a couple of times, and it became apparent that he was kind of annoyed with us. My ex-wife asked a lot of questions. She is relentless. She wanted answers. I wanted answers too, but she's a lot more aggressive than I am. Detective didn't seem all that interested in finding answers for us, so we had a meeting with the sheriff on March 10th, and he said, he let us talk and let us say our piece. And I said, what do you think happened? And he said, based on the evidence I've seen, I don't believe a crime was committed. So that kind of set the tone. And throughout the investigation, the Boulder Sheriff's Department only followed up on leads that supported their hypothesis.
Oh, wow.
And I could spend 6 hours going through specific examples of that, but not really productive for our conversation, I think. I mean, just rest assured that they overlooked certain pieces of evidence. They didn't follow up on certain leads. They had told us that they believed that Megan's phone, which was not found with her, was somewhere in that canyon. But they didn't search for it. So we organized volunteers to go up, and we searched the canyon 4 separate times with little probe cameras. We literally looked under every rock within a 20-yard circumference of where her body was found and never found anything. My ex-wife has a couple of friends up in Boulder who have just been indispensable, kind of leading the charge on our kind of DIY investigation. They were talking to a homeless guy about the phone, and we're looking for this phone because we think it's going to have information. And the guy said, "Well, have you checked an Eco ATM?" And they said, "Well, what's an Eco ATM?" And he said, "Well, it's a place where you can sell electronic equipment. They have a kiosk over at King Soopers I think. Vanessa, my ex-wife, put in a request eco ATM with the IMEI number for the phone, and the next day they sent an email back and said, yeah, we have your phone. It was sold at that kiosk on March 3rd. So
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
So 2 weeks.
2 weeks after she was found, yeah. So we found the phone. Boulder Sheriff did not. Just some other kind of weird things. Her purse was found 6 miles away at Table Mesa Drive and US 36 on the side of the road. And it wasn't thrown from a car. It was placed at the base of a fence. It was a purse that my ex-wife had made for Megan, and she had bought a sewing machine that can stitch through 12 layers of denim. My ex-wife was very proud of that sewing machine. And she quadruple reinforced the corners of that purse because she didn't want, because it was a failure point. The purse was ripped. That seam was ripped out.
Wow.
Obvious signs of a struggle. And the fact that it was found 6 miles from where her remains were found. Boulder Sheriff did not think that. They said that the sheriff told me sometimes strange things happen in an investigation and we never find out why. And to his credit, that is true.
That's a true statement.
That is a true statement. However, when you look at the circumstances of the case and where her phone was found and where her purse was found and where her body was found, it just doesn't add up. I had a guy, on one of our searches up in the canyon, I had a friend up there who lived in Boulder for 30 years, a guy from Louisiana that I've known forever, and took him up there to look around, and he said, I have ridden my bike up this canyon every week since the day I moved here. He said, and I had no idea that this culvert existed. He said, so how does an 18-year-old college student in the dark, excuse me, in the cold, find this place?
Right.
So, we were kind of fighting an uphill battle from the beginning. There's, political undercurrents. The DA of Boulder's running for Attorney General. He didn't seem to be very interested in the case or didn't want to get his hands on it. They announced the Sundance Film Festival coming to Boulder the week after Megan was found. There's some indication that Boulder was trying to maintain that kind of pristine image as much as they can. CU has a pathological need to protect the brand. I don't think that CU is different from any other school. I'm an LSU guy. I think LSU would do the same thing. That's a business. They need to protect that image. But the goal for me, the primary goal, is to exonerate Megan. She didn't kill herself. And to find who did it, because it is a public safety issue. That person or those people are still out there. And I don't want this to happen to any other family from these people. I mean, I can't control what happens anywhere else, but I can put forth my effort for this.
They need to be held accountable.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And Dave and I were talking earlier, the grief over losing my daughter is separate from all this. That's with me for life, and I'm learning to ride with it and, dealing with that on my own. I don't believe that catching the people responsible is gonna help my grief at all. It's not gonna bring Megan back.
Right.
However, it's a separate issue. This is a problem to be solved. My ex-wife and I have been underestimated from the very beginning. We've been treated like weak, grieving parents, and we are grieving parents, but we are not weak. She is a elementary school principal in Swansea. She's tough as nails, and she's a problem solver, and I am too. So we will continue this fight with, I have to say, the outpouring of support from the community, from complete strangers, from the Gabby Petito Foundation, from Vigilante PR, this PR firm that's handling all this pro bono for us, has been overwhelming. Just unbelievable. The donations and the support and the love that we've received is, frankly, hard to fathom, hard to take. We are fiercely independent people, my ex-wife and me. So to accept this this love and this support, it's harder than you think.
Sure.
You know. So we're going to continue getting the word out. Somebody saw something. We're doing a homeless outreach. We put together 160 care bags for the homeless population in Boulder. It's got deodorant, socks, granola bars, stuff that people need. We put out a request, basically an Amazon wish list. These are the items we need. We're going to do 50 bags. We had enough material for 200 bags in, I think, under 3 hours.
Wow.
From people reaching out. So last week, we had volunteers all get together, put these bags together. I transported them up to Boulder to a homeless outreach group. And they're going to distribute those actually on the 4th of July at Central Park there in Boulder, with a card in it with Megan's information. And if you know anything, let us know. We put out $1,000 reward for any tips. A podcaster, Detective Perspective, he doubled the reward.
Saw that.
So we've got some momentum. We just need to keep the pressure on, and I truly believe that. Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we're going to get a resolution here, or where we're going to move forward here. It's not going to be from going back and examining evidence as much. Mm-hmm. I have zero expectations for the Boulder Sheriff. They closed the case. They called it a suicide, so they're not really helping anymore. They're providing us info when we need it, and they're providing case files and stuff like that. But
yeah, if anybody wants to listen a little bit why this does not seem like a suicide, and I'll put the link up on, and any other
I
links.
just wrote that down, Jam. Put that link in the podcast.
Any other links that you want me to post, but the Detective Perspective did a piece on this case, and it really points to it not being a suicide.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what ifs, and he does a really good job giving outside perspective, but there's a lot of things that don't add up. And he'll break it down pretty well to why I would side with you and be like, yeah, this doesn't.
Well, and that's
like
part of the issue for me has been, am I crazy?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh gosh, absolutely.
The kind of the question of faith: is this right, or am I losing my mind here? Am I the only one who believes this? So to have independent people come in and look at all the evidence and say, you're not crazy, that's really important, and that really helps.
Now, would you consider having a private investigator start from ground zero?
We are. We're going to. We're still kind of in the early stages. Everybody wants it right now. My ex-wife wants it right now, and I don't blame her.
Right, yesterday.
At all, yeah. But no, we're being very careful with how we proceed with this. We want to make sure we get the right person.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure we get somebody who is not involved in the local politics. We want to make sure we've got somebody competent with a good track record. I mean, it's we're this is a very important hire.
Yeah, you want that person to fight like it was his daughter.
Exactly.
Her daughter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
No, that's in the works. I was telling Dave earlier, this is a massive management job. Not only is it grieving and all that process, but we have so many irons in the fire here that Vanessa and I are managing and working and trying to organize that. It's a big job.
Sure.
It's all DIY. We
right.
don't know how to do this. We're learning on the fly, but we're quick studies.
Sure.
So we're figuring it out.
I saw one statement you made, and it said we're different people now. And I assume that's you, your ex-wife, and your other daughter, Lindsay.
Yes.
What can you dive into that a little bit if you want? Or?
Well, I think that was one of the first realizations I had when this all happened, and you could kind of see the writing on the wall. My thought was, whoever I was before this, God bless that guy, but he's gone. This is the rest of my life.
Sure.
This is it. This is what I'm here for. To honor my daughters in the best way possible. It just changed the direction of my life completely. And it's, it's not a gift. That's the wrong word. Sure. But I have purpose.
Another thing, and feel free to say you don't want to answer, but you mentioned you're different spiritually, something to that effect. The way that can you dive into that a little bit?
Well, I got sober 5.5 years ago.
Gotcha.
And I was, I was a partier.
Gotcha. That's
big partier.
That's how you met all the cops.
I was the center of a hurricane, right? And I was all about the party all the time, but I wasn't going anywhere, and I could see the writing on the wall that if I continued on that path, I knew what was going to happen. I was watching some of my close friends, die from cirrhosis at 50.
Sure.
So I made a decision back then that I was just going to quit all that and go on this different path. And that path really kind of opened up my mind to spirituality, to figuring out what I'm here for, to learning more about myself and opening myself up to possibilities. And I meditate every morning. I keep my head clear. I wrote a book about grief, oddly enough, about losing my mother that came out a couple of years ago. Seems quaint now. Right. But I feel like that was training wheels for what's going on now. I've written 80,000 words about this situation.
Wow.
So, and that's a good therapy for me.
Right. Absolutely.
But I have and I mentioned this, way back in February. I have a technique that my therapist taught me when I got sober. If you're having a problem, or if you need an answer, you meditate. You go to a place that is very comfortable and welcoming for you. So and think about it in as much detail as possible, and then put people from your life, deceased people from your life, in that space and ask them for help. Now, I don't know if that's real or if it's just imagination, but when I do it, I get guidance. So the room is my parents' kitchen table in Shreveport, Louisiana, where every party, every fight, every Thanksgiving, every meal, everything happened. So in that room are my mom, my dad, one of my grandmothers, a mentor I had when I was in high school. Well, after this happened, in a moment when I needed help, there have been a lot of those. I went to that place to seek guidance, and Megan was sitting at the table, and I didn't put her there.
Oh wow!
And I didn't want her there. I couldn't really accept it at first, but then I thought about it, and she's where she needs to be. She's with. I truly believe she's with, my mom and my dad and these people from our life, and she's okay. I believe that. So that's more kind of the spiritual side of it.
Gotcha.
For me.
Okay. How can people listen and help, or how would you like people to honor your daughter?
Well, we have the GoFundMe set up. The legal bills, the investigation bills, this is irritating. The testing of the evidence for DNA that the Boulder Sheriff never tested. They took all these samples, all this evidence, and they never tested any of it.
And you're having to pay for that.
And we're going to have to pay for that. Wow. And this gets into $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 to get DNA testing.
Wow.
Very expensive, very quickly. So, we're, using our own money, but we're also taking donations for the cause. Sure. That's a big part of it. I've had a lot of people ask how they can volunteer. And what I tell them is, we're going to need you, but I don't know how. Your prayers, your vibes, that helps.
Sure.
A ton. We've got a lot of people working with us right now. A lot of people offering help. More than we can handle. So just following the case. If you know anybody, you never know where that tip's going to come from. You never know. I found out that I had a long lost cousin in Boulder My
Tattoo artist.
yeah, my first cousin's son, who I'd never met due to family years ago. My cousin's parents got divorced, and they kind of went with the mom, and the dad was my uncle, and blah blah blah.
Next time we see you, you're gonna have a full sleeve.
But yeah, tattoo artist in Boulder, and a good kid.
Nice.
He's probably 30. But that's one of those guys who wants to help, and I need to find a place for him to provide help. So I've kind of connected him with some other people who are involved. But that's a guy, as a tattoo artist, he's got a different finger on the pulse of Boulder. He knows a different group of people.
Sure.
And he could turn out to be, something tells me he's going to turn out to be a very valuable asset as we move forward. So you just never know. So, we're putting pressure where we can on the coroner in Boulder. They did not test all of the evidence before making their suicide determination. We found that out. But to their credit, they offered to go ahead and do the work that they hadn't done. They once again, we're just being underestimated. Boulder coroner sent out the toxicology and came back, and that's a whole other story. They told us for 2 months they were waiting for toxicology before they would issue a cause of death. And then 2 weeks ago, they finally gave us that toxicology report, and the date on the report was March 8th. They had it the whole time.
Wow.
And they were backtracking, trying to justify a suicide ruling.
Right.
But we're putting pressure on them, and they're complying, which is good.
And the significance of that for the listeners is the only thing they found in her system was Adderall, which was prescribed.
Right.
And it wasn't a lethal.
No, it was not. It was a toxic amount, but not a lethal amount. And there's a gray area there.
Sure.
But in their press release, Boulder County Sheriff said she had amphetamine and prescription drugs in her system.
Right.
What does that sound like to you?
Sounds like a drug addict.
Sounds like a meth head, doesn't it?
And your daughter's not.
But she is not,
No.
or was not. Yeah. So there's been some kind of seedy actions on the part of the authorities up there.
That must make you so angry, Joe. That would make me so angry that it sounds absolutely crooked.
Yeah, yes, very angry, but I see it as a management problem, as a problem to be solved. And I know from years of experience that my anger can be useful, but in the grand scheme, it's not going to solve the problem.
Right.
So I just have to take this data in, see what they're doing, and see how I can use it. And try to keep it separate. I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, I have wanted to punch my hand through a wall more times than you can imagine, but I gotta remember what the goals are.
Sure.
It's got to be about the goals. So.
Well, we'll definitely post those links up, and any other way we could support you in the future, let us know. I'll definitely be watching this case myself, and if I see a way that we can help, I'll let the brothers know and see what we could do.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to take, I know Jam will put it at the end of the podcast or with the podcast link, but that detective perspective, share that and share the GoFundMe page on your links. If you have a Facebook page, put it on it. If you're any of those things, share the story. The more people we touch, like you said, Joe, the more you never know how crazy paths will cross.
Just takes one clue,
right?
Yeah.
One piece of evidence.
Right. Well, and I'm kind of taking a more grassroots approach on my own. I had a stack of stickers printed up, and I just walked business to business last weekend with Lindsay on Pearl Street, and just walked in, introduced myself, and said, "Can I?" And the stickers have a QR code on the back with a link tree to all the stuff, and basically just said, "I'm Joe Trussell. Megan was my daughter. Would it be okay if I left these stickers with you?" And just put a human face on it and shake some hands and meet some people, and hopefully that stirs somebody's conscience, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody knows something.
Yep.
Somebody does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to come in and talk and share with y'all. I appreciate it more than you can imagine.
Absolutely. Yep.
Joe, I commend you so much, and I put this in an email to you, but your composure to handle all this, it's unbelievable. I mean,
Thank
it is
you.
very impressive. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Feels kind of weird to change gears, but we are going to change gears a little bit and give one of our drivers a call. I picked out Omar Reyes, unless you guys want to call someone else.
No.
Omar should be good.
Yep.
Give him a call. If he doesn't answer, I figure maybe we call a safety director. That might
Oh,
be fun.
there you go.
Casey or Kendrick. But let's try Omar first.
What's going on, brother?
What's up, Omar? How are you?
Pretty good. Here coming up on dump here on 11.
Okay. You have time for a call?
Sure.
Cool. You are live being recorded on the Channel 23
shoot.
podcast. Is there any way you
Guys
could...
about to get canceled already.
Yeah. This is going to sound kind of funny, but turn your radio off.
Oh, I got you.
I know we tell you never turn that off.
Breaking the
but-
rules.
So, Omar, we got a couple questions for you. Number one, how long have you been driving for?
I've been driving for 8 years now.
Okay. What's been your favorite driving job?
Probably this one with the job security, honestly.
Yeah? What makes you feel like JFW is more secure than other companies out there?
Honestly, just the upkeep on the trucks.
Okay. I like
Nothing's
that.
dragging or hanging on them.
Good deal.
Wow.
What's your favorite thing about driving?
My favorite thing, honestly, probably popping open a cold Monster and putting some tunes. Just going down the highway. That's probably the best part about driving for me.
Sugar free?
Sugar free. You got it.
All right, man. Just making sure. What's your least favorite thing about driving?
The least definitely has to be CDOT when they
Oh.
want to do highway repairs at midday.
Oh, I got you. Causing traffic jams.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably the worst part.
I could appreciate that. What do you like to do in your free time, Omar?
My free time, I like to go to the gym for sure and upkeep my grass. Pretty big on my grass, so yeah.
Okay.
Right on, Omar. Me too.
Yeah.
You should get with Scooby. He'll have that thing growing 5 feet a week.
Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about your side gig? What you like to do? What you're trying to do to prepare for your future?
Sure, yeah, why not?
All right. So you are into real estate. I believe you own. Am I correct in 2 homes? One's a rental.
Yeah, into real estate investing. I own one single family home and one duplex.
Okay. And how many pieces of property do you envision yourself owning?
Honestly, that number is not in my head right now. It's just pretty much trying to get 1 to 2 a year
Okay.
until I probably just say that's enough, you know?
Well,
Nothing's ever really enough.
1 or 2 years a lot.
Right?
Oh
Yeah.
my God! Wow.
ambitious.
Okay. And can we share a little bit about the good news that you've had recently?
Oh, sure, why not?
Go ahead. Let everybody know what you got going on.
Well, I'm gonna be a dad. Expecting December 22nd, if I have the date correct. So that's some other good news as well.
Congratulations.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Very cool.
gonna be a very big change in sleep and life for sure.
Absolutely.
Is that your
So I
first
don't think I'll
one?
be able to come in at 3:30 for you guys anymore.
I don't know. Brother Dave has a question for you.
Is that your first?
Go ahead, brother.
Is that your first kid?
Yeah, it's gonna be my first kid,
Nice.
baby girl to be exact.
Nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys.
This is going to be a funny question, and it's going to change after December 22nd. But what is your least favorite smell?
My least favorite smell,
Yep.
probably a porta potty on 100-degree weather for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be about the same December 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. And my last question for you, Omar, what is the number one thing on your unbucket list? Meaning something you've done, but you'll never do it again.
something I've done and I'll never do again would probably be skydiving. That thing was not for me.
No. Do you have a video? Do you have a video of that?
I should have a video. I'll send it over to you.
Okay.
Did you scream like a little girl?
Did you hear Brother Dave?
No, I did not.
Did you scream like a little girl?
I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I was just being choked by the air. Honestly, I couldn't even breathe.
That's great. All right, Omar. Well, we appreciate you. Thanks for playing. I hope you listen to this episode of the podcast. And
I appreciate you guys calling.
Be cool out there, man. Thanks for taking the call.
Awesome.
Yep.
See you,
Hey,
Omar.
you guys have a good one. Happy 4th.
Yep.
Have a great day, Omar.
Good stuff. All right. Let's talk about what's next, but I'm going to combine that with what happened yesterday.
What's next in history?
Well, yesterday was a big day for what's next. Without yesterday, what's next can't happen because
True.
it's impossible
True. Yeah.
to build without a foundation.
Yeah.
So yesterday, the foundation is the foundation done, BD, or is there more to it?
No. So yesterday we poured 24 yards, and they're called pads.
Okay.
Where a couple columns are going to sit. They had to pour those before they pour the footer. Okay. And we have 110 yards on the books today for half of the footer for the new building.
Awesome.
So yeah,
That's exciting. One thing I noticed that kind of scared me a little bit when I was over there is the two poles that they put in the street.
yes,
Is that supposed to be for the gate?
that'll be the new gate.
That's what I
Right,
figured
and that
yesterday,
is
yeah.
the permanent. That will be the permanent gate.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like those poles are going to get hit.
Well, I hope not. We're professional drivers, and we expect the utmost best when they come through those.
I
Right?
didn't say we're going to hit them.
Well,
They're just there.
they are. We put some cones on them.
Oh, okay,
And
good.
after you left, right? Because
Okay.
you and Casey, came in together. So Casey put some cones on both sides of them and on top of them.
Okay, good.
So I mean, they're as marked as they can be.
Great.
I think they will be a little more visible
when there's a fence attached to them, right?
Well, when there's a gate on them,
Yes.
right? And they're going to come build the gates next week. And
Oh, wow.
I kind of laughed. I said, "What's your guys' time frame?" Because I was talking to him yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, we'll be here, probably Monday, and start working on them." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I said, "You're having somebody build the gates because JFW has some experience replacing gates."
Yep, you have to build.
Not
them,
going to
don't
mention
you?
any names or why, right? But anyway, I've had to have them built, right? Like you go to a fence company and here's your dimensions, they make it and you pick
Yep.
it up and install it, right?
Right.
And they're like, "Oh no, we'll just be building them right here." So they show up and they build the gate right there. They'll be welding it. And
Wow.
I was like, we're freaking making America
That
great
rocks.
again. I said, you know what? Better yet, we're making Commerce City great again, right? They're going to weld it right on site, and build it right there in place.
What kind of gate is it? Is it like
Steel.
iron rod?
No, it'll be a normal looking gate, Jam. And we were of the impression, because there'll be electric gates to come in and out of the property with the trucks. We were of the impression it would be a roller or what I call a slide gate.
I was going to say a
when you
swinging
go over to,
gate or a rolling gate.
Well, it's going
right?
to wind up being a swing gate, Dave, because this fence company believes they're the most durable, most dependable, least amount of problems
Gotcha.
type electric
Interesting.
gate.
I would
which
figure the rolling gate would be.
every time I say that, because I've said that more than once to him, he's like, "Oh my God, Dave, the maintenance on those is ridiculous."
Wow.
All the rollers, all the adjustment, all this, all that. And he said,
would've never
nobody
known.
wants to wait for that gate to open all the way. So he said, then they drive into it and hit it. And, as it's going back, it'll stop and you're pulling through and you hit. And he's like, these are just the best. And I'm like, okay. You take your word from
the expert, sure.
an expert in the
Yep.
industry, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah,
stuff.
so there you have it. Yeah, pretty exciting. Yeah, after we get that half of the footers poured, as soon as they strip the forms, we will be backfilling that half as they're forming the other half of the footers, and then we'll backfill that, and the plumbers can get in there and get all the plumbing done inside the building, and then we can look at pouring floor.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yep. Good timing with our 90th anniversary.
right.
Yeah, concrete's being poured
Right.
the
yeah.
week of.
Things are happening.
Yep, good stuff.
It's only taken 90 years.
All right. Questions from the audience? Will there be Redmond loads this winter? And I feel like we addressed this a little bit, but just as a reminder.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on it.
There we go.
That's like everything else. I mean, we work on our workload every day, have meetings, call customers, knock down doors. Absolutely. I mean, our goal is hell yes.
Right.
So.
We need a little snow, don't we?
We do, yeah. Yeah,
Because
for
we
sure.
left their stockpiles brimming full.
They are brimming full.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Safety topic of the week. Last week, JR went out trucking and sent us a picture of a ladder for the trailer missing one of the bolts, meaning the fold-down part was only bolted on one side. That is an accident waiting to happen, and we just need to write those things up to make sure they get fixed.
How do you climb in a trailer like that?
You don't.
Right?
How much you want to bet?
Right.
That person didn't climb in and out.
Right.
Okay. Good point.
That might be a little time to throw a tidbit in there. Everybody kind of sees Jim and I sit and talk in the car in the morning, and we inevitably catch things when a truck goes by or whatnot. And this morning I was in and out of this yard and yard 23, and a truck left yard 23, had a light out on the tailgate, had a truck pass me on 56th Avenue following the loader with no cab lights on, and I'm always puzzled by how you did your pre-trip.
Right.
If those things aren't working. How did you do that pre-trip?
Yeah.
And I want to ask on the radio, and I don't want to embarrass people, and I've called them out in the past, I've been a dick in the past, I've been kind in the past, and I want to know, how did you do your job before you started to do your job?
Well, that bolt was in the ladder when I did my pre-trip. So.
And I get there's things we miss. We're not perfect, right? There's things we're going to miss, but I think sometimes we need to do a little better attempt at doing what we do. And just a little more effort, a little more thought, a little more care.
Sure. A little tip for everybody is make a list. Throughout, I mean, you are in that truck for 12 hours a day. You're going to notice something at 11 a.m. that you might not have seen at 7 a.m. Write it down.
Yeah.
And write it up at the end of the day or fix it at the end of the day. If you see that light, and it happens too, that light was on when I did a pre-trip, but it wasn't on, when I walked around later. So write it down, make a list.
Well,
at the end of the day, sometimes I'd have a whole page.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure it got fixed.
Yeah, we're such big proponents of the post-trip, mainly because we have, 6 bays worth of mechanics working at night, so it's a lot easier to fix something at night rather than one mechanic in the morning,
Right.
Or 2, right? It's way easier to get that caught at night and fixed at night. But you still have to know your tires have air in them and your lights work when you leave the yard. You have to know that.
What I would do is...
So how are you when you're leaving without... You didn't even turn your switch on.
Right.
How did you check your lights?
Well, I turned them back off. What I would do, just my advice for people in the morning, what I would do is I would drive that truck out of here like the owners are watching you.
Right?
And I'll look, oh wait, they are. Not right. Yeah. Speaking of tips and tricks, this is from Armando the Sergeant Del Val, number 11, Independence Day. Good morning, JFW family, and welcome back to another week of tips and tricks. Please remember that the purpose of today's tips and tricks are just ways for us to be safe and aware. Let's be careful. The holiday weekend, nothing is better than having 3 days off and being with your friends and family while shooting up fireworks and grilling some good, delicious burgers and hot dogs. Have you guys met Patty? Just kidding. But before we get there, we still got to stay focused for 2 more days. Remember that families are going to be traveling, and that means a lot of traffic is coming. Even though I didn't add in JFW professionals in the beginning, we still got to play that part. Everyone is going to start being in a hurry to go where they need to go, so let's increase our following distance and try not to go over the speed limit. Take our time merging into other lanes and look at all your mirrors before making a move. This is not the time to be speeding, being distracted, and trying to get in front of other drivers. We got to pick our lane and try to be patient. Remember that we're already in everyone's way when it comes to holiday driving. Now, I'm going to try something different. When I was active duty in the Army, every holiday weekend we would put on a safety brief at the end of the week. I would always hear the same thing over and over from my leadership. Kind of the same thing we hear at JFW. I would hear the same thing so much that I can repeat word by word on what they're about to say. But that's the point. They tell us over and over so it becomes muscle memory. I heard it so many times that I'm using my professionalism outside my truck, driving my regular car and being aware of my surroundings. There are some of the key tips we got to keep in mind. Now remember that it's about having fun and being safe this weekend. When you're lighting up fireworks, please don't aim or throw them at other people. Keep them away from flammable liquids or anything that contains some type of fuel. See, 4th of July in New York's different than that. Now that if you light up a firework that doesn't go off, just leave it alone. Don't pick it up because it could still go off and possibly hurt you or someone else. Please watch for kids and pets because they love to get close and try to bite it. I've seen a kid bite a firework before.
Erica, that's for Kanik.
When you're grilling, please have a fire extinguisher close to you or know where to find one in case of a fire. And always make sure the fire is out whenever you're done. If you're planning on getting super drunk, don't drive, don't swim, and don't use any fireworks.
Super drunk or a little drunk?
Super drunk. I would say if you're planning on drinking, don't drive. Your CDL.
Right? Yes. Yeah. A little or a lot.
Yep.
Because remember, that's a tighter tolerance for CDL.
What is it, 0.40?
Joe, do you know that? Or
0.08 is standard, and I believe it's 0.04.
0.04.
Half, yeah.
For
I mean,
CDL.
that's nothing.
Is that a beer?
That's
Could a beer do that?
depends who you are.
I would think so.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Me versus my wife.
Maybe not beer
200-pound
country.
guy,
Yeah.
I think that would be yes.
Yeah.
Also might depend on how much you ate that day or
Yeah.
It does depend on that, or
Too-
how recently you drank the beer.
too many variables for me.
Yeah. Too tough to.
Yeah. I don't
Why
want to
try?
know. Yep.
Why try? Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Stop someone if you see any of these things. If anyone needs anything, please reach out to me and connect. I'll be available for anything. I'm just a phone call away. And go watch Independence Day if you haven't seen it. Please let me know on Connect Team what you think about this week's tips and tricks. And thank you all for listening and being the positive feedbacks. And for the positive feedback. Have a happy 4th of July. Until next week, Armando the Sergeant Del Val, 0073. Together we can be better.
Right on,
that
Armando.
was a good one, Armando.
Yes,
Good
sir.
buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for continuing to do these.
Yeah. He was like, hey, let me know if this one's too short. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Armando. I really appreciate the consistency.
I do too. Yep. It's great.
All right.
Like the
I
way
think
he
we all-
writes it too. It's just written right from the heart.
Yeah,
You know, like he's
absolutely.
talking to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can hear his voice
Yeah.
when I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Soup, you want to hit us with that high road hauling?
Okay. So this is something I think everybody thinks about from time to time, and if you don't, I hope you do, because it affects everybody all of the time. So this piece is called The Ripple Effect of You. As the story goes, there was a man walking down the street scratching a lottery ticket. He stopped to look at the numbers and determined it was a losing ticket. Discouraged, he tossed the ticket on the ground and it landed in the lap of a homeless person sitting on a curb. The guy, not knowing anything about this particular lottery game, took the ticket across the street to a store and asked the clerk for help. The clerk scanned the ticket and found out it was worth $250,000. Turns out this was a very generous person, just down on his luck. And he used the money to benefit a local children's center, providing food, clothes, and helping the families of over 100 kids. We never do really understand the impact or effect we have on others. The results of our words or actions flow from us to the next, and to the next person, whether we know it or not. These ripples may instantly be visible, delayed, or completely unknown to us, yet they have an impact. So there are many things that combine to affect our perspective and create each experience and then ripple out to others and then to their experience, and then their experience has been affected by you. One of the challenging things about ripples is the intent. We may have the best intentions in the world about what we say and what we do. However, we don't have any control about how the other person perceives our ripples. As we walk the life's path, we should ask ourselves how the ripples of our actions will affect others. Our lives become better as we help others' lives become better also. We lose our selfishness merely by the act of helping others. We all have many great examples of ripple makers who have had the influences on our lives. The idea that everything in life is purposeful really can change the way you live. To think that everything that you do has a ripple effect, that every word you speak, every action that you make affects other people positively or negatively. Have you ever thought of yourself as a pebble on the pond of life? That is exactly what you are when you consider those who are affected by your thoughts, deeds, and actions. Just consider the lives you touch during the course of a day, a year, or a lifetime. So the question we must ask ourselves isn't, will I make a difference in the world? The real question is, what kind of a difference will it be? May the ripples you send forth this day be guided by the impulse of loving kindness, selflessness, non-judgment, compassion, and joy. This is what our world needs now, and the perfect pebble to make some mighty waves. So think about that as you're rolling down the road, everybody. Cast your stone over life's pond and leave the largest and happiest ripples you can. This is called a legacy, and that was spoken by Randy Scott.
Good job.
I haven't heard of Randy Scott before.
Heard of Ray Scott.
You know, he's an ESPN sports guy.
Really?
Yeah, which I looked him up and I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound that,
Interesting.
pretty profound for a sportscaster.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, very profound thoughts. Everything you do, it affects other people. You know, kind of like the old Christmas story with Jimmy Stewart. What was the
It's a
name
Wonderful
of that?
Life?
Yes, It's
Yeah.
a Wonderful Life. Yep.
Love that movie.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Final thoughts, everybody? Joe, you have some final thoughts?
No. Once again, just very grateful to be here.
Well, we're honored to
Thank
have
y'all
you.
so much.
Yep. Honor is ours. BD?
I ran across this and I printed it. It's short and sweet, and I just think it's pretty factual. So I believe in the sun when it's not shining. I believe in love even when I'm alone. I believe in God even when he is silent.
I stand on that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Love
that's
it.
my final
Great.
thoughts.
I got two thoughts. One is a quote of the day. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. To know is not to be wise. Many men know a great deal and are all the greater fools for it. But to know how to use knowledge is to have wisdom, and that's from Charles Spurgeon. And then my other final thought is, just having Joe on the show, obviously please go check out the links we're going to post. But I want you guys to pay attention to his posture. We never know what's going to happen in life, but the way we deal with things is really up to us. And, some people, get a flat tire in the morning and it's ruined their week, And here we have a guy that has suffered great loss, to his family. And just the way you handle yourself, Joe, is admirable. So
It's incredible.
thank you for being the man that you are.
I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Let's say, or did you have anything else, Soup?
Oh, nope, I'm
Right.
good. I would like to say, I wanted to say one thing.
Nope, I'm fine, but I have this to say.
I got nothing else.
I got to backtrack
But hey, by the way,
because things move faster sometimes, the conversation. But everybody that says, I've been there, done that, or I've been driving for 30 years, you're full of it, because Jim and Dave have been doing this their entire life, and I can't count the number of times that I've heard both of those men say, holy cow, I've never seen that before.
Right.
So just remember that, you guys.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man.
all right, let's say the creed and get on out. Joe, it's right there in front of you if you want to join us.
Sure thing.
Yep.
Together we face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are accident free.
Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. And together we are the JFW family. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. Be safe out there. Have a happy 4th of July. Hope to see everybody for ice cream tomorrow.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Right on.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.